Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear I speak truth, I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, watering every dry place as I flow to the notes that heaven navigates. Let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. He opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, gang, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, February 9th, and this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. Again, yes, we're live on Facebook. Our contact number here is 301 655 9992. That's 301 655 9992. And you can catch other shows on our YouTube channel at Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. You can also contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com. And of course, you can always visit us on our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, we'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers and your support. We hear you loud and clear, and we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. For everyone that wanted to reach out and wanting to contribute to the show and our ministry, Dr. Lauren and I, we sincerely appreciate it and thank you. We appreciate your patronage, and you can bless us to keep creating content and spreading the word of God, our real job. Our business cash app here is hashtag $ Tom Bomb Sports Talk. That's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And we sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed that you sow into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. As usual, we're going to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things that he's already done for us in 2025, all the way over into 2026. We thank him for the new things, that are coming in 2026. And our theme for 2026 is the year of discovery, grace for beyond, okay, in 2026, so that we can be transformed to a level that none of us has walked in before, so that 2026 can truly be the best year of our lives. And our foundational scripture for this year in 2026, got to have a foundation, and our foundational scripture is found in 2 Peter 3:18, and this is the Good News Translation Bible. And it says, "But continue to grow in grace and knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. To him be the glory now and forever. Amen." To God be the glory. Amen. Hey, gang, I'm pleased to announce our Community Hope Center at VCCI, Victory Christian Church International. We've started our grocery distribution program, and we're feeding 50 families in designated zip codes on the third Saturday of each month at 11 a.m. Eastern. And our location is at 7-7 Metropolitan Court in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Of course, the zip code there is 20878. And it's open to all residents of the following zip codes: 20877, 20878, 20879, 20855, and 20882, and anyone that lives in Montgomery Village. Okay. It cuts on a first come, first served basis while supplies last. While supplies last. You can scan the QR code to register, or you can also register on site. It is available, but all participants must complete a registration form. Please, please, please. Listen, our goal is to work up to 100 families, so be in agreement with us that we get to this goal. We want to be a blessing to our community. Okay, that's our purpose. If the church moves and it's not missed, that means it was never supposed to be there. So that's be in agreement with us on that. Hey, gang, we don't have a trivia question for today, but we do have a poll question, and we're going to talk about the poll question a little bit later in the show as we introduced, Felix and Troy and I. We're going to discuss the poll question. But our poll question for the day is: Hall of Famer Deion Sanders says that only Hall of Fame members should be able to vote on incoming or upcoming Hall of Fame players. Do you agree or disagree? Do you agree with Dion or do you disagree? We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the segment of the show. Hey, gang, got to give a shout out to one of our guests last week, Assumption High alum and guest commentator on last week's show, Miss Gina David. I'm sorry, Gina Green. I'm sorry, Gina. Gina Green, Director of Facilities for the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field. Woo-hoo! Gina's getting a Super Bowl ring. Gina's got a ring. Gina's got a ring. Go, Gina. You go, girl. All right, guys, let's get to our Super Bowl 60 highlights and analyze the big game. Okay, fellas, let's get to it now. How the Seahawks shut down the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 60. Hey, guys, we often talk about how coaching matters, especially in the NFL. First of all, I think we all agree that the bottom line is that the best team won. Period. I think you would you guys agree with that? The best team won.
Yeah, without doubt.
Okay. With 2 weeks of preparation, I'm sure the Patriots' veteran coaching staff thought they had answers for the Seattle defense, but they didn't. Okay. After watching tape on the Seahawks defense for 2 weeks, Mike McDonald flipped the script on the Patriots, excuse me, with a devastating wrinkle in their defense game plan, and was flat out brilliant, Troy Felix. Even without the game plan switch, Seattle's defense would have still been good enough to win this game. I'm going to prove that to you, Felix, because I know you are here with your stats. But the unexpected look saved for Super Sunday tormented the Patriots offense, producing chaotic moments for the New England offense, holding them to 0 points in the first half. So Felix and Troy, let's get to our first point. Our first point is the Devin Witherspoon wrinkle. Okay, after the game, one of Seattle's defensive team members was asked, "When did you know you had this game won?" And he said, "After the first defensive series, we knew we had won." Kenneth Walker III won the MVP, but Seattle's defensive team was really the MVP of this game. Devin Witherspoon, the Seahawks cornerback, was excellent in coverage and made a number of big splash plays, including the game sealing blitz that produced the pick six for the defensive TD in the second half. Now, Coach Mike McDonald broke with their established tendencies, and he showed the Patriots something they either weren't expecting or at least they severely underestimated. The Seahawks during the regular season, this is for you, Felix. The Seahawks during the regular season blitzed 21% of the time, which was the fifth lowest blitz rate in the NFL. On Sunday, in just the first half alone, they blitzed Drake May 34% of the time. 34% of the time in the first half. And then they dialed it back to just 8% in the second half. Now, what's more important than the general blitz rate, guys, was which player the Seahawks used, which was Devin Witherspoon. Witherspoon is an excellent blitzer and a physical force, but Coach Mike McDonald held off on using him to blitz the quarterback. Witherspoon blitzed, listen to this, Witherspoon blitzed 33 times over the last 12 games and not a single time over the last 4 games, including the 2 playoff games against the 49ers and the Rams in the postseason. Yesterday, yesterday in the Super Bowl, Devon Witherspoon's blitzed 8 times. These pressure blitz didn't single-handedly win the game for the Hawks, but they created big plays, and they definitely got into Drake May's head for the whole game. The blitz game strategy was brilliant. Mike McDonald produced a masterpiece on on any blitz. The quarterback automatically looks at the hot route. But another brilliant move was dropping their defensive line into the quick slant lanes to stop May from dumping the ball off over the middle, quickly leaving those Patriots defensive linemen with no one over them to block and leaving Witherspoon pretty much untouched a lot of the time. It seemed to me, guys, like Seattle had more players on defense than New England had on offense. They did a great job of disguising their defensive packages. Troy, what's your thoughts on this first point?
Uh, well, Seattle did a really good job of utilizing experience over youth.
Mhm,
The Patriots, as good as they've been all season, as good as they are right now, they're young.
mhm,
So when it comes to just teams and understanding the moment, the moment was a little bit big for them as a whole unit. I didn't notice until we was watching yesterday, but yesterday was the first time in NFL history that we saw two rookies side by one another on the same side of the line.
hmm,
So you got a rookie left guard, you got a rookie left tackle, you got a second year quarterback, you got a rookie running back in rotation, and you got a few young receivers outside of like Matt Collins and Stephon Diggs.
mhm,
So I'm looking at it as this team in general is, severely unexperienced when it comes to this particular moment. Now, it's not to say that Seattle had more experience when it came to being in the Super Bowl, but when it came to confusion, when it came to getting them rattled, they did what they needed to do in order, to keep them frustrated, right? Drake May looked like a deer in headlights. Uh, I feel as if even with the blitzes, there was a lot of opportunity for him to make plays, and he just missed them.
mhm,
That he made routinely the entire year were a little bit harder to create and manage
mhm.
in this particular spotlight. So ultimately, Seattle did what they needed to do. The fact that they were still a top five defense this year by having the fifth lowest blitz percentage lets you know they can send 4 guys and still get pressure on the quarterback.
Great point.
Now they decided to figure out, okay, on the edge, let's make things hard on the, schemes for the offensive line. So that way they have a harder time of identifying who they need to pick up. And that one split second decision, there's a lot of throws, like I said, that Drake May missed just because he was, pressured. So they did what they needed to do. Good job.
Felix, go ahead and jump on that. We're gonna really dig into this today, Felix. Go ahead.
Right. So we're talking about Seattle's defense, and another thing I noticed, they used a lot of four-man fronts, a lot of four-man rushes,
Mhm,
and so it's one thing to come with the traditional blitz. You're
mhm,
saying maybe 5, 6 person man rush, but no, it was four-man rushes. Sometimes, not to mention, hey, Seattle tied a Super Bowl record, almost broke it. 7 sacks,
mhm.
almost came up to 8, but one of them was called back. So again, Seattle, they put up an absolute masterclass against the Patriots in this game. And another thing I want to say about the Patriots, I don't want to take anything away from what the Patriots did this year. Obviously, again, like I said, to be as successful as the Patriots were for as long as they have been, some skills involved. I mean, no matter what you say about their strength of schedule, what have you, but I knew that they could not handle a team like Seattle, a defense like Seattle's. And and even when Drake May tried to release the ball, and I have to give Drake May his credit.
Mhm,
He did not have an interception until very late in the game. He did not have a fumble until very late in the game.
mhm,
But the idea is Seattle put enough pressure on him to force him to make a few bad passes for him to be off the money. So in reality, I'd say Drake May, for what the situation he was in, he was able to somewhat manage because I'd say against an average quarterback, it would have been many more interceptions, and this game would have been much, much uglier again, from a standpoint of an offense opposing the Seattle Seahawks here.
Excellent point, Felix. You know, since this is the big game and this is all we got, we're going to really get in depth in this. So our next topic I want to cover is let's talk about the next point in why this is why Seattle won a game. No blitz, no problem. No blitz, no problem. Last year, guys, when the Eagles dominated the Mother Wigs Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, defensive coordinator Vic Fangio went the entire Super Bowl without blitzing. Okay, They didn't blitz one time against Mother Wigs Chiefs. The Seahawks still would have won according to NFL Next Gen Stats. This is for you, Felix. NFL Next Gen Stats. Uh, they pressured Drake May 48% of the time when they rushed four or fewer players on defense, which is the highest pressure rate ever posted in a Super Bowl when rushing with just four or fewer defenders. Now, the Seahawks purposely targeted rookie left tackle Will Campbell. They purposely isolated Will Campbell one on one against Demarcus Lawrence, and Demarcus Lawrence ate him up. Okay, as Campbell gave up a whopping 14 pressures in the Super Bowl. Will Campbell simply couldn't hold up in pass protection, and he didn't have a good day in run blocking either. Troy, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, they made life hard on that rookie, man. And mind you, he was the top tackle taken in this draft this year.
Yep,
So
they took him high.
it wasn't like he's a scrub. It wasn't like, you know,
You say it wasn't like he was a scrub.
well, yeah, man. But here's the thing, I've been talking about. I figured that this was going to be the Super Bowl matchup a long time ago. And when I look at what's going on currently about how they're going about handling their business in Seattle, this is the Legion of Boom 2.0 on that defense. That defense, here's the thing, there's such thing as cover sacks. When you got a rookie safety who's the defensive rookie of the year, when you got Devon Witherspoon, you got Tariq Woolen, you got Kobe Durant, you got all these guys that just make plays all across the defensive backfield. It makes things easier for guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and company, Leonard Williams, to make pressure, knowing that wide receivers can't get separation. They handled their business, and the extra couple seconds that it took for them to execute plays was the difference between New England being successful on offense to them not having a clue about what they wanted to do.
Felix, what's your thoughts on that? Fangio not blitzing at all, but Seattle still had a better pressure rate when they use four less. What's your thoughts on that, Felix?
It comes down to skill. It comes down to scheme because the thing is, and this is the invisible part of the game. I get that there are 11 people on both sides of the ball. There's a lot going on, and your main idea is to pay attention to where the ball is going. That's human. That's natural. But in the invisible part of the game is, hey, they're not just blitzing. It's not just okay. This defensive back or excuse me, defensive lineman is so strong that he's muscling through these offensive linemen. That's the case sometimes. Or a lot of times, they're expecting this guy to go one way and they go another, or he's cutting one way, they're cutting another. And what gaps they use, what patterns or sequence of patterns that are being used. So that's another thing that I think was engineered into this. So you have that. And of course, hey, that aside, you also know that, hey, these guys are also using brute strength. That's also a factor. Athleticism is a factor. And also these offensive linemen, they're getting tired. They're getting fatigued. They were really getting beaten down that entire game. So I would say that was the big part of it. But like I said, even in cases where you can't get to the quarterback, you don't get the sacks. And again, they had 7 sacks, but even when they couldn't, when that pressure built up, it kind of did the secondary's job for them in a way. And that's really why I argue before the first step to building a defense is building your front seven. Because if you're able to force a quarterback to make a bad pass, you kind of buy yourself time to building your secondary over time. So that's I'd say that we saw that with Seattle.
Excellent, good point, Felix. Listen, Dr. Lawrence said she had heard that a running back was going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. That's what Dr. Lawrence heard. So let's talk about the Kenneth Walker III game. In his final game before free agency, MVP Kenneth Walker III made himself some money. You guys agree with that? He made himself some money on Sunday. Look, Walker's explosive plays on offense was key to Seattle's offense. He had 5 runs of 10 yards or more, including a run of 29 yards and another run of 30 yards. He added a 20-yard catch on a screen pass. And so the fourth year pro finished with 135 yards rushing and 26 yards receiving. He basically put the team on his back. Now, the Patriots even went to a six and one man front to stop the run and basically to force the Seahawks to pass. But his patience and his picking his holes, he kind of put everyone in remembrance of running back great Le'Veon Bell. Okay. Uh, Walker could be looking for a deal in the $12 million range next season. Remember how Le'Veon Bell would just patiently wait behind the hole and then behind the line and then just go and pick his hole? You remember that, Troy?
Of course I do.
What's your take on Kenneth Walker the third MVP?
Uh, Everything that you saw yesterday should have been Marshawn Lynch 11 years ago.
Good
I
point.
can't say it as simple as that. They made the adjustment in saying that I don't care how we get this win, I don't care how we get it done, we're just going to do it. And instead of force feeding Sam Darnold, like the Seahawks tried to do with Russell Wilson, back 11 years ago, they decided to keep the ball in the hands of number 9. And what's scary is that they did this without Zach Carbonet as like a mix-in back.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy played almost the entire game and handled business by constantly getting 5 yards or more, constantly keeping the whole playbook open. Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't really do much the entire first half, right?
Yep.
And they still found a way to accumulate over 90 yards rushing in the first half with one guy, which is the NFL record leading up until that point, right? For one half. So they did what they supposed to do. They found a weakness and they didn't try to make things complicated. They found the loophole to get everything going, and they just let the guy shine. I just wish they did the same thing for Marshawn Lynch in beast mode 11 years ago.
Felix, what's your thoughts on the MVP, Kenneth Walker III?
Yeah, Kenneth Walker III broke the game. He broke the game for Seattle. He cemented the victory. So I'll say this first off: credit to Seattle for taking the points, just taking the points.
Right. Good point,
A lot
Felix.
of those points came from them making the smart decision and not going for it, not getting too greedy. But I'd say the game was still close until Kenneth Walker, again, he was able to get Seattle in the scoring position with those breakaway runs. So obviously a well-deserved MVP. He had about 170 rushing yards, and his total was actually close to how many yards Darnold had passing. So again, as a running back, if you're able to do that, major accomplishment. And he put the offense on his back.
Yes, he did. He did.
And I'd have to say that the Patriots, they were showing signs of waking up towards the end of the game. And I think without the running game being utilized, that one threat that they had, Seattle's one threat that they were able to maximize, without that, I think the Patriots, again, they still would have lost, but I think the game would have been a secure win for Seattle. And I'd actually go as far as to say, who knows what happens? Maybe the Patriots get motivated and that intangible factor, the momentum kicks in and it can turn the game on its head. But in short, what we all know, Kenneth Walker, obvious MVP of that game.
Felix and Troy, both of you guys answer this. Last week we talked about who we felt like was going to be out coached. Did New England? Felix, let's go with you, Felix. Did New England get out coached in this game, Felix?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I'll say because both teams have to give credit. Both teams played solid defense. Both teams had a solid defensive scheme. I saw the Patriots put the Seahawks under pressure. They completely shut down JSN. They completely shut down Seattle's deep pass. And they also had Darnold under pressure. Then on the other end, I would say that the Seahawks, did they outcoach the Patriots? Yes. But by a bit. I don't think there was a wide disparity here. I think a lot of it came down to player skill.
Wow.
But I would say that, again, with Seattle, well, like you said, with the 4-man front, if you're able to set up such a scheme in which you can discombobulate an entire offensive line with just 4 defensive linemen, Yes, I'd have to say that you put on an absolute masterclass of pass rush in that case.
Mhm. Troy, answer this for me. Before you answer, Troy, when we were watching the Super Bowl yesterday, Dr. Lauren, because at halftime the score was 6-9 to nothing, and Dr. Lauren says, "Honey, what do the Patriots have to do to get back in this game?" And I said they got to do three things. They gotta spread the offense out, go to the 2-minute offense, run some draw plays, run some screens, and if Drake May doesn't run the ball more, they're going to lose this game. Troy, what's your thoughts on being outcoached and on those points?
I agree with that 100%. I was going to say, yeah, he didn't run enough. There was the middle of the field wide open the majority of the game, and he wasn't looking to run. He was looking to make plays with his arm. Uh, I feel as if there's still ways that you can be effective without putting yourself in harm's way. And I think that he was so destined to be that pocket quarterback that everybody kind of looked at him as first before being a runner, that it kind of detrimented him as opposed to helping him. So I feel like on the offensive side, New England drastically got out coached. I felt like they didn't utilize Travion Henderson enough. I felt like they didn't stick to their bread and butter, getting Hunter Henry really in the mix, more. Um, Matt Collins making that great jump ball is awesome, but if it weren't for that play, it's a good chance that New England gets shut out. So I'm looking at this as this team had to find a way to still generate points to stay on the field without really like losing like themselves in the midst of it. I feel like Stephon Diggs didn't really get too much of looks going forward, but to the Seattle Seahawks defense, they did a good job of strapping him and strapping other guys as well. So I feel like Felix keeps saying, the former talent, Seattle's just a little bit more talented than New England. And ultimately, I feel like New England, forget getting out coached on the offensive side. They got out coached on the special teams.
That's we're
They
going
had their
next.
chance. They had their chance, and I'll let you just bring it up. But they had their chance to, make this a one possession game going into the fourth quarter, and the blocking in the back penalty on that punt return kind of threw off the whole momentum. So, they had their chances, couldn't finish.
Okay. Well, Troy, that kind of leads us right into our next point. Let's talk about the importance of the special teams and what I'm calling the big boots. Now, I think people overlook and forget how important the special teams are. Rashid Shaheed announced his presence with authority ever since he joined the Seattle Seahawks in midseason with crucial punt and kickoff returns for TDs. I mean, the Seahawks were in the Super Bowl because of a muff punt by the Rams returner Xavier Smith. But guys, I don't think that the casual football fan recognizes the defensive weapon and the role that punter Michael Dixon contributed to the Seahawks defensive play in Super Bowl 60. Dixon dropped 3 punts inside of New England's 6-yard line, and he averaged 48 yards per point. And kicker Jason Myers was a serious consideration for MVP, scoring 17 points by himself. Felix, what's your thoughts on that?
Right. So I even said if it's possible to have a co MVP, I would definitely say that hey, Jason Myers could be it. He could be, if I'm not mistaken, the first Super Bowl MVP in at the kicker position. But
Uh-huh.
going back to it, what you said about the punter played a big role in keeping New England at bay because when you're backed up against your own end zone, the playbook really isn't open like that. A lot of the plays you run, you're not going to be able to do a full drop back, especially knowing that you're under constant pressure. And really, the slightest error can either be a safety or, I mean, safety if you're lucky. Now, in some cases, it could be an interception fumble for a touchdown. So, in short, I'd say that Seattle's punter proved how important the role of a punter is in the sport of football. Just being able to pin your opponent down, win the battle of field position. And Seattle, I have to say it, Seattle won that battle from start to finish. As a matter of fact, the Patriots, they didn't even cross the 43-yard line until the fourth quarter. So that's something to think about.
Troy, go ahead on that point.
Uh, Felix made great points. One thing I want to add to that is people don't understand how important it is to be able to pin your opponent inside the 10-yard line and make them have to drive 90 yards down the field. Ray Guy, I think, is the only punter in NFL history to get drafted in the first round.
Yes. I think so.
So to think about how good you got to be in order to be, in that conversation at that position. It just goes to show if you got somebody that can be consistent enough, how much pressure that takes off the rest of your team. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about is just the thought process of how these guys handle things on the punt return side for New England. I feel as if they had their chance, like I said a few minutes ago, of getting the ball downfield. They got the punt. He got to the outside, got about like 20 yards out the punt return, and they called it back with an illegal block in the back. That just totally killed the whole momentum of that particular punt. Then I see other instances where the punter is clearly saying clear out, and a bonehead on the perimeter is over here still engaged with the gunner, and he's the guy's just yelling, Peter, Peter, get out the way, right? And the guy's not even really paying attention to what's going on, right? So I'm looking at little things like that. That's strictly coaching. There are some guys in the NFL that are solely on a team mainly because of what they can do on special teams. When I think of the Redskins, the number one guy, and Felix, you can tell me if I'm wrong or if you agree or not, the number one guy in our history that I think of when it comes to special teams play is Lorenzo Alexander. Lorenzo Alexander played outside linebacker for us for many years, and there's times where he should have been on the field, but he wasn't. But every time he got on the field, he made an impact play. And when you got guys that can fly downfield, that understand the rules, that understand, little things and how it can be a bigger picture, it makes things a whole lot easier as a team to kind of build off of that. Rashid Shaheed didn't do nothing, but the punter did a phenomenal job of, pinning them deep, making things hard for the offense to have to drive, yards down the field. And then when you got a kicker that goes 5 for 5, scores 15 points from field goals, complete team effort on the special team side for Seattle.
Okay, guys, let's move.
Lorenzo Alexander
Go ahead.
is a name
That's a
I have
throwback.
not heard. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Felix.
Is a name I've not heard in relation to Washington in such a long time. Like I said, that is a deep cut right there, and that's something. When you said special teams, I thought you were going to bring up Brian Mitchell or Brandon Banks, but that's elite analysis right there. I never even considered Lorenzo Alexander would be the person you'd mention.
My dog. I was thinking, of course, man, the returners always get glory, right? But when you got guys that just know how to, disengage blocks, how to just go and make open field tackles, I'm telling you, that guy, in my opinion, was one of the best special teams guys we've had in our organization in a very long time. And it was sickening to see him go to Buffalo.
Man, you guys are good, man. That's good stuff there, made it. Listen, Sam Darnold is now a Super Bowl champion winning NFL quarterback. Sam Darnold did what he had to do. He managed the game and he didn't turn the ball over. Sam gets big props for not turning the ball over because New England's defense played great and their defensive backs really challenged him with solid press man-to-man coverage. I saw at least 4 passes that could have easily been pick six going the other way. Now, he missed JSN wide open for a TD early in the game. And man, Troy, I was so impressed with Christian Gonzalez. I think if not Christian Gonzalez, New England gets blown out in this game, who had a great game. But I really felt like Sam Darnold let him off the hook. Also, when Rashid Shaheed ran past Carlton Davis III on a cover zero and was wide open for a potential 59-yard TD, and Sam Darnold overthrew him by a yard. But Darnold's contributed to other key ways of impacting the game with his legs, which Drake May should have done more, and more importantly, him securing the ball in a crowded pocket and eluding sacks. He tormented Milton Williams, who had an excellent game, but he only got Sam Darnold one time. Darnold finished with a QB rating of just 53.0, a total QB rating. But unlike CJ Stroud, he simply didn't lose the game for his team. Felix, what's your thoughts on that, on Sam Darnold?
Right. So it goes back to what I said about the Patriots defense. The Patriots defense did their job in that game.
Mm-hmm.
They shut down Jackson Smith and Jigba. And the thing is, the Seahawks, they were without one person that was part of their two-headed monster at the running back position. So You couple that in with the fact that despite the fact that the Seahawks have other solid receivers than Smith and Jigba, when you're under pressure, you don't have the time to find them. You don't have time to make the accurate passes. And sometimes you're forced into a dink and dunk and you get a few yards, but it's not enough. So what the Patriots did, it was perfectly engineered. The fact that the Patriots held the Seahawks down to as many points as they did, and mind you, the Seahawks scored 29. One of those 29 was from a defense, it was from a fumble return for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So in reality, the Patriots only gave up 22 offensive points to the best offense in football. So as far as the Patriots' hand and the Patriots' defense's hand in this game, they did everything that they could do. But like I said, they were just outmatched by the better team.
Troy, what was your take on Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold has proven himself to be more than just a Trent Dilfer style quarterback.
Oh,
That is
absolutely.
mainly known for game management, but not for being able to make a splash play. Um, you take you put a little bit more air under those balls that he threw to JSN and Rashid Shaheed. Those are two extra touchdowns that we're talking about on top of what they already scored, right? So I'm looking at this team. I'm looking at Minnesota. They kicking themselves over in Minnesota, man. They should have never let that man go.
Mm-hmm.
I get the thought process of trusting JJ McCarthy, a guy that you invested in, but the guy won 14 games with you the year prior. So it's like I'm thinking about it as when you got talent around you, like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, you got to keep that guy in that mix. But nevertheless, they let him go, and now he's in a position to where he got a slot guy that was a former Super Bowl winner and a Triple Crown winner, right? You got um one of the most underrated rookies in this draft class, and AJ Barner out of Michigan, who made play after play when they needed him to. It he handled his business. He didn't win this game, but he for darn sure didn't lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And all you need for your quarterback to do when you got an elite defense is to not put themselves behind the eight ball. And with the mix of the run game took pressure off everybody else, opened up the whole field. They constantly left themselves in third and manageable situations. Sam Darnold handled his business.
Okay. All right, guys, let's move on to our next topic. Let's welcome our officially graduate the 2026 Hall of Fame new members. So who officially got in: Drew Brees, like we thought, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, and Roger Craig. What you guys' thoughts on that, Felix? On those inductees?
I would say every single person inducted, well deserved. These are players who are, everything I'm saying is kind of obvious, but
Mhm.
strong Hall of Fame class. And I'd say for this year, it's very interesting for me because I'm seeing a lot of people I grew up watching, people who were in the NFL just a few years ago, all of a sudden they're in the Hall of Fame. Like we said earlier, great people on the field, some cases off the field. So, uh, well deserved honor.
Troy?
One guy that I want to talk about in particular is your guy, Roger Craig. Felix, you don't know about this. Back when we were younger, excuse me, me and my dad used to play Madden against each other all the time. And this dude would cheat by using like the 1990s San Francisco 49ers while I would use like the New England Patriots or something, right? And mind you, back then, see, they didn't have the names of the retro guys. They just had the number.
I remember, and it'll be the wrong number sometimes.
Right, exactly. But this one was right. There was a number 33 out the backfield. And for those that don't know, my father, he played quarterback, did all that when he was younger. But he loved the pass to the drop off and the running back and the tight end. So when I tell you Roger Craig would run for like 150 yards and then have 80 yards receiving on 10 catches, he would utilize 33 all game long. And when you're playing against somebody that just cheeses one particular player, one particular formation, it gets annoying, right?
Yes.
But what was cool about that was it gave me insight of, okay, who is this dude? It made me ask the question of who's number 33? I know Joe Montana, I know Steve Young, I know Jerry Rice, right? But number 33 is killing me. And I don't know how to stop this dude, right? And respectfully, to see a guy is just as impactful as Christian McCaffrey out the backfield. And to see how he played on a championship style team alongside Jerry Rice and alongside Joe Montana and Steve Young, you know, I think it was long overdue. I think he should have been a Hall of Famer.
Mhm.
I respect the fact that when Ronnie Lott came and congratulated him,
Mhm.
they basically told him, "Look, you're gonna get inducted, and you're the one that helped build this organization,
Mhm.
right?" So respect where respect is due. The guy is basically a form of what I've seen in like Marshall Faulk, Christian McCaffrey,
Mhm.
guys that are just dual threats.
Mhm.
Respect to him.
Yeah, well, those are the only three guys that have ever done it, Troy. 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yard receiving. Those three guys you just named. Roger Craig first, then Marshall Faulk and Christian McCaffrey. That's Hall of Fame. Felix, what's your thoughts on Roger Craig?
So I'd say Roger Craig, he's definitely a player. If you look back now, if you look back at the San Francisco 49ers at that time, we obviously know about Montana. We obviously know about Rice. But I'd say that he's a player that played a big role in the team's success. And the thing about football, it's chemistry. It's never a one-dimensional. You can never be one-dimensional and be fully successful in the National Football League. So I feel like that a lot of what he did set up some of the plays, set up the dynamic hit. Hey, I don't know where they're going. Are they going to run with him again, or are they going to pass? And of course, there's always that deep threat with Rice. But I'd say having a player like that throws in another X factor. When you're concerned with everyone else on the field, it opens up the game for him. So again, like I said, it's always good to have someone else available on the field to make an impact and set not only make the plays for himself, but also set up the other players by, and it's really a game of strategy
Mhm.
playing against the defense. And Roger Craig was a big part of that. So congratulations to him. Well deserved honor. And I'm glad that he's finally getting his due.
Hey guys, real quick before we get to our poll question, have either of you guys seen the new documentary out on the San Francisco 49ers? Have either one? Yes, no. Have you guys seen it
Nope.
yet?
Nah.
How about you, Felix?
Can you say it again?
Have you seen the new documentary that's out on the 49ers?
No.
Okay, it's excellent. I think it's on Netflix or something like that, but it's really, really good. You guys should check it out. Let's get to our poll question. Listen, Deion Sanders says that only Hall of Fame members should be able to vote on incoming Hall of Fame players. Do you agree or disagree with this, Troy?
100% agree. 150% agree, actually. If you can't sing, you shouldn't be telling who's in the choir or not. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's just my feeling. If you a coach, you shouldn't be a coach if you can't do what you're trying to get everybody else to do, right? Takes away from the credibility. I think of Terrell Owens instantly. The fact that T.O. a few years ago was not a first ballot Hall of Famer comes from guys that were, quote unquote, butthurt about how he handled himself during game day. Now, the crazy part is that outside of football, he never got in trouble. So
Mhm,
it's not like you can use anything against him
mhm,
to say that, oh yeah, he was a distraction off the field
mhm,
and he was, nah. Say what you want about him. On Sundays, on game day, he came to play and he gave it 100% every single time. And everybody knows if your top five don't got Randy Moss, and wide receiver don't got Randy Moss, T.O., or Jerry Rice in it, it's invalid.
mhm.
So the fact that a guy at that stature didn't get first ballot Hall of Fame only makes it worse now when we look at Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. When we look at Robert Kraft not being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
So,
That's
Troy,
just
what you're
me.
saying is if I can't sing, I can't say who's in the choir.
Nah, uh-uh. How you gonna tell me I'm a sinner and you ain't never even been, in a position I've been in?
I mean, I love that, man. I love that take. Felix, what's your thought on not being able to sing?
I would say this. I like the idea because unfortunately I feel that a lot of the decisions made in the NFL, they're being made by people that have their own biases and they're made by people who are somewhat out of touch. So I feel that making it Hall of Famers only that could vote for the for Hall of Famers, that might cut that out of it. So I would say that of course I would say ideally you have the Hall of Famers and people who are experts, a select group of experts both vote. But based on what I'm seeing, yeah, I think that we're at a point where we have enough Hall of Famers to have enough a diverse pool of opinions that could go into who's in and who's not. So I think that would be good. And another point you made with T.O., I think you're absolutely right. He never did anything crazy off the field. You never even heard anyone even assume or allege he did something illegal or violent or what have you. So people are just upset that, oh, he had a certain personality. They're offended by his personality. And you already know how it is. Certain people are allowed to have a personality, certain people aren't.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it might be best to just have the Hall of Famers vote at this point.
I'm gonna agree with you guys as well. I don't like the idea that some of the guys have grudges, so that because they have grudge. I mean, it's like another aspect, and not just the NFL Hall of Fame. I think this should be for all the Hall of Fames. Uh, because a lot of times, like for example, you have a guy like Willie Mays and Hank Aaron weren't unanimous Hall of Famers. Now, how is that possible? That Hank Aaron and Willie, I mean, if there's 100 ballots, Willie Mays and Hank Aaron is supposed to be on all 100 ballots, and which is the same thing we're talking about Bill Belichick. A lot of people don't like Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I agree.
Lori says it's too political with too many private agendas.
Of course.
That's what Dr. Logan
Here's
says.
the thing: people are starting to realize that everything that they do is going to hold against them. It's going to hold weight against them going forward in life. Don't be on the wrong side of history,
Hmm.
right? When
Yeah.
we look back at this as 5 years, and we look back at guys that are getting first ballot, like, okay, did this guy deserve to get in over Bill Belichick? Did this guy deserve to get in over T.O. as a first ballot, right? And if you can't answer yes with that, you already know what the compliment is.
Well, I will have to say this in defense. The guy that got in ahead of Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft was Roger Craig. Okay, so right, and Roger Craig should be in, but here's the thing: the rules are wrong. First of all, a coach and an owner shouldn't be even in the same category as a player. When you're trying to pick a player over a coach and a owner should have their own separate categories. They should never. A voter should never have to be asked, should I put a player in over a coach, or should I put a player in over an owner? What's your thoughts on that, Felix?
Right. So I think that the way it's set up, I think that they could have a separate pool, like you said. Maybe you put in one or two coaches and four for the players because they induct about six people per year.
Hmm.
And, you know, the same way you have a modern era and past era, because they're aware that there are a lot of people who are long overdue for Hall of Fame. So they always include a past era
Hmm.
Hall of Fame Hall of Fame selection, someone who played decades ago. Then you have the recent retirees. So I think having that for coaches as well, maybe one slot for a coach, maybe two, however they want to put it,
Hmm.
it would make sense.
I agree.
And coaching, and I would say, huh, I would still argue that I want player input because players would be able to judge coaches well. So I mean, players and
Right.
coaches interact with each other well enough. So I would actually trust coaches voting for players and vice versa.
The players know better than anybody.
Yeah.
The players know better than the players know who the All Pros is. They know who the Hall of Famers are. They know. They know. Let's move on to our next point. Now let's get to our NFL 2026 Honors Award and the big winners. We'll go through this one. Most valuable player, Matthew Stafford, QB. I think we all agreed on that last week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that to me, Drake May had a great season, but Drake May's season wasn't, I was watching Get Up and I was watching Jeff Saturday, who was arguing hard that Drake May should be MVP over Matt Stafford. And one of the other guys say you should be taken off the show for saying that. And Drake May had a great season, got his team to the Super Bowl in his second year, but Matthew Stafford was the MVP, and I think they got this one right. Next was Defensive Player of the Year, and all three of us said Myles Garrett, defensive end, Cleveland. I think that was kind of a no-brainer. What's your guys' thoughts?
There's no brainer. He broke the track record. Anytime you break a record like that, you're supposed to be defensive player of the year.
Mhm.
It's kind of like leading all the stats and categories, points, rebounds, and assists, and you still lose out to Steve Nash 2 years in a row.
Yeah, okay. I see Troy got an axe to grind there, Felix. What's your That's a great point though, Troy. Felix, what's your thoughts?
I agree. I would say Miles Garrett. No player in the NFL really had the kind of season, or no defensive player had the kind of season Miles Garrett had. That was a well-deserved award. I think that his award and Stafford's are pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, next is offensive
you
rookie of
know,
the go ahead, Troy.
oh my bad. I'm gonna make it quick. And the last thing I want to say about that is you got to understand the Cleveland Browns are a dumpster fire as an organization. So it's not like the reason why I say that is because it's not like teams were in a position where they were down against Cleveland a lot this year and they had to, throw the ball 40 times in the second half, which gave him 40 pass rush opportunities. He had limited pass rush opportunities and still broke the record.
Hmm.
So put him on a team that scores 30 points a game.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Let's get to our next one. Offensive rookie of the year was Tadadora McMillan, wide receiver for the Panthers. Uh, he came on strong. I thought Ibeka was leading, but then for Tampa Bay, and he kind of just slipped down a little bit with an injury. And McMillan stepped in. What, Felix? You like this pick for offensive rookie of the year?
Yeah, yeah.
Troy, you like that pick for offensive rookie of the year?
The same thing Felix said. I second it. Yeah,
Okay.
it is what it is.
All right, we got Gina back on the show. All right. All right, next, this was a new category, Protector of the Year, Joe Tuaney from the Bears. This was a great, great offseason acquisition that they got from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Bears. Felix, you like this pick, Joe Tuaney? Go ahead, guard, best protector of the year,
Yep.
Troy?
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay. Then we got comeback player of the year, Christian McCaffrey, 49ers. I think they nailed this one as well. But Troy?
Yeah, this is probably the easiest one. As good as Dak played this year, Christian McCaffrey is by far the comeback player of the year, arguably offensive player of the year.
Troy? I mean, Felix?
Absolutely. He messed up both Achilles tendons. That's something I wouldn't even imagine being possible last season. And he comes right back and has a solid year. What that speaks for itself.
Okay, Lauren said we all picked those last week. Next, we got Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel of the New England Patriots. I know that was my guy. I thought he was going to win it. You guys okay with Mike Vrabel as Coach of the Year?
Yeah, I would have liked to see McDonald do it, especially after performance yesterday. But bias, I mean, prior to even yesterday, I felt as if Seattle making that change, going through a brand new quarterback and still, dominating, getting the number one seed. I think he deserved it.
Okay, Felix.
I would say he was a solid coach, but with the I have to give it to I still think Shanahan deserved it because he did not have a healthy team at any point this year. The average team would have crumbled before midseason. I mean, that's why I wanted it to be Shanahan. But again, to Vrabel's credit, I saw some weaknesses in that Patriots team, but he still picked the strengths of the team, used them to the umpteenth degree, and he was able to make the Patriots as good as they possibly could be. So I'm not going to say that he was undeserving, but my personal favorite would have been Shanahan.
I agree with you, Felix. I think if I had a vote, I would have voted for Shanahan, but I think it's a no-brainer that you could see that Mike Vrabel, number one, changed the culture in New England.
Mm.
For a team that was 4-13, and then secondly, he had a lot of, like Troy mentioned, he had a lot of young rookies and young players on that team. So to get that young team to be a cohesive unit and have the chemistry working enough to get them all the way to the Super Bowl, you can't argue with him not being Coach of the Year. But if I had a vote like Felix, I would have voted for Shanahan because, like I said, in the beginning of the year, I announced that my 49ers were not going to make the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and they did. And I agree with Felix. That's why he's the best side man in the business. Next is Defensive Rookie of the Year, Carson Schwarzenegger of the Browns, linebacker for the Browns, another guy on the Browns team for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Troy, tell us about him.
I mean, yeah, he dominated. He can play both the Mike linebacker. He can play outside as a Will. He can even roam as a Sam. He's very versatile, right? He's not a atypical inside linebacker. He's got size. He got speed. He can cover sideline to sideline. But with that said, if you don't think that safety Nick Emmanwori out of Seattle isn't the rookie of the year defensively, then I just I don't necessarily agree with you. But
I,
it is what it is. Nothing to take away from Chase, but I'm looking at Nick. Nick just won a Super Bowl yesterday. He's by far the vocal leader of that defensive unit, and he's the reason why Lisa Boom is back.
Mhm. I agree with you, Troy. But Felix, check this out. So the Browns have the defensive player of the year and the defensive rookie player of the year. That means that's a decent defense in Cleveland. Felix, what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. That's what I've been saying about the Browns. Although they're a team that's not the most successful, defense has been one of their hallmarks over the last 8 years now. And
Yeah.
the only problem is you got to get a team around that. You have to get a consistent offense. They were able to have something going with the running game at some points, but that fell apart. And in reality, again, the Cleveland Browns, they could have been a really good team if they had other parts together. Their defense kept games close. If you look at the Browns, don't really get blown out like that. But I would say that again, the Browns, good team, good. I like what they're doing on defense. I'd say that they shouldn't touch their defensive management at all, their defensive scouting at all. But I'd say anything else. I'd say on defense, maybe defensive backs, but everything else, yeah, definitely a revamp.
Well,
Revamp.
Felix, since they interviewed the defensive coordinator Schwartz, and because they didn't hire him, he didn't like that, so he quit. So they've lost their defensive coordinator that's been heading that defense. I'm so hoping that he goes to San Francisco since we lost Sala as our DC. So, but yeah, so that good defense in Cleveland has now lost their coordinator. That's assistant coach of the year was Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator for the Patriots, and he had a great season, but he surely didn't have a good Super Bowl. Troy, what's your thought on Josh McDaniels as assistant coach of the year?
Uh, First go just because we're not inside the locker room, but inside like the meeting. So it's like when it comes to that, like we look at talent as opposed to who's actually coordinating everything. Based off what I saw yesterday, I don't agree. But throughout the whole year, he had Drake May as the MVP candidate. So
Excellent.
why not?
Yep. Felix,
Sorry.
what's your thoughts on Josh McDaniel, assistant coach of the year, Felix?
I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
All right. And let's get to our Walter Payton Man of the Year. Both of you guy, Bobby Wagner, linebacker for the Washington Commanders. Felix, tell us about Bobby Wagner.
So with Bobby Wagner, he's raising awareness for cancer. So he's been going around raising awareness. So he has a personal tie to this. Of course, his mother died of the illness, but I'd say that what he's doing, and this is something a lot of people don't take enough a lot of people aren't aware of. It's really important to go get your checkups, go see your doctor, have everything checked out, make sure there's nothing wrong. And even at that, knowing how to check at home. So again, if there's any sort of unusual bumps on a part of the body you normally don't get that, have that checked out, especially if it's not some sort of if it's a bump, it's not some sort of bruise, it's not some sort of but whatever it is, if there's something wrong, definitely have that checked out. And I like how he's raising awareness. He's raising awareness even at school so kids know how to detect it themselves because this is something people often don't learn at school.
Mhm.
I remember when I was taking health classes in middle school, this was a footnote. This is something blink and you miss it, or that they didn't really harp on. You could or something you could easily forget. So the fact that he's going around making sure that people are aware of this, I'd say it's a well-deserved award, and I think again more people definitely again it's one thing to raise awareness of the disease itself, but how to detect it even before you even get to the doctor's office very important.
Mhm. Troy, let's go back. My excellent producer remind me that I skipped over the offensive player of the year, JNS of the Seattle Seahawks. And this guy had a phenomenal offensive year, Troy. Fantastic. But Puka Nakua numbers were better than JNS. What's your take on this one, Troy?
JSN. But uh, I mean, come on, man. Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. At this point, no matter which route you go, you can make an argument. But I'm looking at it as nobody really saw him to make this big leap
Hmm.
1 year after DK Metcalf leaves.
I like
Right?
that, Troy. Uh-huh.
So everybody knew who Puka was going to be with or without Devontae Adams, with or without Cooper Cup. Nobody really saw JSN jumping in and being a top 5 receiver the moment the number 1 guy from last year leaves out. So then it makes you realize, okay, if DK was on the team again, would DK still be the number 1 guy? Not a chance, right?
Whoa.
So with that said, the right guy won.
Okay, guys, let's move on to our next topic. Real quick, here's what I want to do is I want to give you our top 10 teams going into the next 26-27 season. And I'm going to start off. I'm going to go first, and then I want you guys to, tell me what you think, who you like, uh, as far as power rankings. So based on this year going into next year, I think the number one team in the NFL is the Rams. Number two, I got the Seahawks. Number three, I got the Chicago Bears. Number four, I got the Denver Broncos. Number five, I got the New England Patriots. Number six, I got the San Francisco 49ers. Number seven, I got the Houston Texans. Number eight, I got the Green Bay Packers. Number nine, I got the Detroit Lions. And at number 10, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Felix, what do you think of this top 10 and who do you like?
That's a solid list right there. And I definitely say when the 49ers get healthy, watch out for them. I'm not just saying that because this is your show now. Like the 49ers have been doing a great job managing their team with the injuries. And I can just imagine how they're going to be with everyone healthy. Then the offseason moves that they're going to make. The Rams, another team, and the Rams could have very easily been in the Super Bowl as well. So
Well,
again, the Rams are another team to look for. Philadelphia, I'm not so much sold on, but I will definitely
even
say
at
that
10, even at 10, not even Philly's not in your top 10.
uh I mean they could be top 10. I think that's that's a good predictor, but I mean, and largely because of the division they play in, Washington, I unfortunately we're in a position where we revamp part of our coaching staff. So I'm not exactly sure where Washington
Mhm.
ends up. I think Philadelphia reasonably they're going to outdo New York, Dallas. I think we can expect that to happen. But outside of the division, I'm really not so sold on Philly.
Okay, so Felix, who would you replace at 10 ahead of Philadelphia? What team would you put in that top 10 that I didn't mention?
That's a great question. And this might be controversial, but I'm not sure if Baltimore or Buffalo was anywhere on that list. What were they?
No, I did not have Buffalo, I didn't have Baltimore, and I didn't have Kansas City, who I think possibly, if I hadn't went with the Eagles, I would have put Kansas City at 10. So who do you think you would put in at 10 and besides the Eagles?
I would say, hmm, I would say, given the choice between Baltimore, Buffalo, I would say Baltimore. I would want to say Kansas City because they're getting Eric Bieniemy back. That's an He's an X factor right there. I'd say the Chiefs could possibly be there, but I think the safe pick for right now, Baltimore.
Troy, what's your thought on that top 10 and who do you like and who would you take out and put in?
Uh, I mean, it's basically pretty similar to what you got. I got Kansas City at 4.
Okay.
Felix just said, Eric Bieniemy coming back. He should have never left.
Hmm.
Tyreek Hill should have never left. They're going to find ways to kind of build back to their image of being a prolific 30-plus scoring a game offense. So I think with that, that changes the whole narrative how we go through things next year.
Hmm.
For me, I got the Seahawks number 1 as opposed to the Rams number 1.
Hmm.
Well, man, you can't. And until you knock me off, I'm still the king.
Okay.
So
Okay.
ultimately that division is still the toughest division of football. I got Denver at 3. I think they by far stocked the most this year. Their defense is just as good, if not better, than Seattle. But Bo Nix getting hurt this year really hurt them. 5, this is a shock to a lot of people, but I'm still kind of sticking with Green Bay at 5.
Hmm.
Green Bay doesn't really get as much credit as I think they deserve, mainly because of who they are as an organization and who they play in their division. Um, Six, I got San Francisco. I want to see that team fully healthy. I think that team fully healthy can keep up with anybody, but they just play in the hardest division in football.
Mhm.
Seven, I got Detroit. Do not sleep on Detroit. Dan Campbell and them are still legit. I think this first year without Ben Campbell was a hurdle and a growing pain as an organization. Eight, I got Chicago.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
they definitely showed strides this year to be, an offense that actually scores points and actually puts yards up. Um, Nine, I got Buffalo. Josh Allen, I know he's mad about how everything turned out. I
Mhm.
truly believe Buffalo would have gave Seattle a better fight yesterday than New England. And then 10, I got Baltimore.
Okay.
You still can't sleep on Lamar and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, it's that the top 10. That's tough. So listen, this next thing is what teams do we think will surprise us in 26, 27 that might end up in the Super? I mean, this year we had Seattle and New England, and I don't think a whole lot of people had that. But what teams do you guys think you surprised? I'm going to go first. I had Chicago at number three. I think Chicago is going to be really, really scary next year. What teams do you guys think might end up in Super Bowl 61? Felix, let's start with you.
Wow, I'm on the spot here. So teams that could end up in the Super Bowl
Yeah,
next
just give
year.
me two teams that you think could end up being there.
Okay, I would say two surprise teams that could end up being there. I would say, would you consider San Francisco to be a surprise team?
Yeah, absolutely,
I would,
absolutely.
Right.
San
So
Francisco's a surprise team.
San Francisco, and based on what we've seen this year, Kansas City, because no one, I don't think people are expecting Kansas City to have the season that they had this past year and go straight back. And I think having Bieniemy's coaching style back there in Kansas City can bring them right back up.
Mhm. Troy, what's your two surprise teams that could end up in Super Bowl 61?
okay, so here, let me rephrase what I'm looking at. As a surprise team that I think is going to shock people.
Yeah, that's like yeah.
No, no,
What's
no,
the,
no. I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm rephrasing it, right?
Mhm.
I originally chose Houston, but I don't think Houston is going to make it to the Super Bowl. But I think if there's any team that's going to make a splash to kind of like turn things around and take it to the next level. Joe Mixon coming back next year is going to be huge. Getting Tank Dell back next year is going to be huge.
Mhm.
I feel like Woody Marks definitely made things easier for them to kind of think about how they want to go about drafting this year with their high draft picks. I would say Houston out the AFC is definitely a team to look out to be like a dark horse to make it to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, oh man, I'm gonna say Detroit
Mhm.
mainly because even though 2 years ago it wasn't no surprise where they were. They were,
Mhm.
legit, but they don't make the Super Bowl, man. I've never, I don't know what the stats are, so don't. So I say if I get this wrong, excuse me, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think Detroit's really ever been relevant in making the Super Bowl. So when I look at it as a whole organizational side, I feel as if they're going to get over the hump and take it to the next level. I think they're going to try to come out here and prove a point that we're still who we are even without Ben Johnson.
Mhm. I think Chicago and Houston could be in the Super Bowl. Of course, you guys know I'll be rooting for San Francisco, so I could easily see, like you said, Troy, a San Francisco Houston Super Bowl. But as far as surprise and shock, I think Chicago and Houston could be in the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 61. I really do. But I'll be rooting for the 49ers. Okay. Let's get to our next question. Listen, Sam Darnold just won the Super Bowl and has put together back to back 14-game win seasons. Only Tom Brady has done that. So here's the question: what QBs would you take over Sam Darnold right now? What QBs would you take over Sam Darnold right now? Troy, give me top five quick. If there's five, or if you would take anybody over.
Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, um,
It's a lot, ain't it?
and
It's a lot, ain't it?
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, and there's no knock on Aaron
Right,
Donald.
right.
There's really no knock on Aaron Donald, man.
You mean
But
Sam
I
Darnold?
mean,
Yeah.
being honest, I don't see he's not at least those four.
Uh-huh.
If you want to, whoever you
Eh,
want to put at five, his teeth is on. But
I'm
oh
with
yeah,
you.
Matthew Stafford.
it could be 10. Felix, who would you take over Sam Darnold right now?
I mean, pretty much his list. Stafford. It's perfect with Stafford, Mahomes, Allen, Jackson. Did I already mention Burrow or no?
Nope.
Burrow. I would. I would say Jane Daniels, but that looks like a homer pick. That looks like a
I'd take
homer pick.
Jaden Daniels over Sam Darnold. But I think it's about 10 guys. And like Troy said, I don't think it's a knock on Sam Darnold. It's just that I think there's about 10 guys that if I had a chance, I would take over Sam Darnold. And that's not dissing Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold did fantastic, played great. He's a good quarterback. I think there's 10 other guys I'd rather have though. So, you don't have to apologize because I take Jaden Daniels over Sam Darnold as well.
Yeah, but Sam got that Super Bowl ring and a Super Bowl
Yes,
appearance,
he
so that's the
does,
only
and
reason
that
why I
means
didn't
something.
say that.
That
And everything Jaden Daniels ain't never won 14 games. He did it for two different teams. And like I said, ask Justin Jefferson who should be on that list, and he'll make a great case for Sam Darnold.
well,
So I don't know. That's just me.
let me say this. Let me ask you this. Side note. Whose upside is higher, Sam Darnold or Jaden Daniels?
I'm gonna say Jaden, but it's like he's Sam Darnold is finally reaching a point where he's getting over the he's getting over the overall expectation of what he had coming out the draft. He got a Super Bowl ring now, so now he can just breathe and play.
Okay, we got to move on. We got to pick this up a little bit. Okay, let me get to our next one. Okay, guys, what was your take on Super Bowl halftime show with Bad Bunny? And let me just start off by saying this. There was a so-called another shoot Super Bowl show at halftime, and I just need to say this. From the Time of the Bomb show, um, I think this second Super Bowl show is a move of division in America, and I
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. Now I don't know anything about Bad Bunny. Like I was telling Lauren, I had not heard one single song that Bad Bunny had ever did. Troy, you know what I'm talking about. You was like, you know I don't know about rappers and things like that, but I had not heard one single song from Bad Bunny. And to be fair, Tom the Bomb usually doesn't watch halftime shows. My tradition is that I take a shower at halftime. That's literally what I do. And when I come out of the shower, the second half is getting started. So but I actually watched this year's halftime show and not under I didn't have to understand the language to understand what they were communicating. And uh, I really liked it. To my surprise, I really liked it. I thought it was well done. It was visually beautiful, and I give it thumbs up. This other halftime show, uh, I'm not happy with it because they passed it off as a Christian show, but for me, the show wasn't Christ-like, and I'll just leave it at that. Troy, what's your take on the halftime show?
This was the most impactful halftime show in Super Bowl history. It wasn't the best halftime show in Super Bowl history, but it had the most meaning and it was the most impactful. I know Bad Bunny through a girl that I used to date, like 5-6 years ago, right? And for me,
Bad Troy.
Relatable.
I'm being serious, right? I already have, an understanding of who he is as an artist because I listen to some of his music. In regards to performance, he sounds much better, through his recordings in comparison to how he sounded yesterday live. But everything was well thought out. It was very creative. And, ultimately, have you guys, okay, sidebar, have you guys ever seen Head of State with Chris Rock?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, remember how the campaign he's going against that guy that God kept saying God bless America and no place else?
Right.
And then Chris came out and said God bless America and everybody else.
Right.
This is where being on the right side of history is super important because if you had a problem with saying this isn't an American showing and knowing that Puerto Rico is part of an American
territory,
part of our, so it's just like the fact that they're trying to say Puerto Rico isn't American, it's just a sign of how ignorant a lot of people are in high up positions.
Dr. Lauren, like that comment, Troy.
And it don't really matter. Here's the thing too. A lot of times people associate different with, uneducated or dumb or, just stupid. I dare people that only know English to go and try Spanish and then go to a country in which Spanish is the number one language spoken, you're gonna feel the same way that you do that they do coming here trying to get everything squared up and try to get their vocabulary squared up. So my thought process is that he made sure, he God bless America, God bless Puerto Rico, God bless Bolivia, God bless Chile, God bless all these different countries,
Hmm.
one nation, one sound,
Hmm.
God bless America and everybody else, like Chris Rock said in Head of State,
Hmm.
and the fact that they're trying to make it Turning Point USA, all American halftime show, it just goes to show where we're at as a country. And I'm not going to get too political, but with everything going on, the fact that that's a headline tells you everything that you need to know.
Amen, Troy. Listen, God doesn't belong just to America. Okay. God doesn't
Right.
just belong to America. Felix, go ahead on the halftime show.
I'm so glad you brought this up because first off, you've actually had singers from other countries perform at the Super Bowl. U2 is a British band. They performed at the very first Super Bowl after the September 11th attacks, and people thought that was a beautiful showing for America. And secondly, when people say America, I have to be honest, it's coded language. It's got nothing to do with what country they're from.
Hey,
It's
let's
we
make
don't have
America great again, Felix.
so, oh yeah. By the way, look up the first group to use that saying. I'm not going to say. I don't know if you want me to say the name of the group that used that slogan first,
Uh-huh.
but you can do some quick Google search. Hint. Here's a hint. They
Well,
like
just tell us,
rebelled against
Felix. Just tell us, Felix.
the Klan. The
Okay.
Klan.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, anyway. So taking a step further with the whole halftime show. Again, I'm not a Bad Bunny fan. As a matter of fact, I don't listen to his music. I don't listen to this style of music. I'm more of a hip hop, alternative metal kind of guy. But the thing is, I like to sit down, enjoy a show, and maybe I'll get into something. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But I enjoyed the show. It was a spectacle.
I did
There
too.
were some messages in there. It told a story. Even though I didn't understand a word of what he was singing, I'll be honest.
Mhm.
Let's be brutally honest. Even when we're listening to music in English,
Mhm.
how many people can tell you what are the lyrics to an extreme metal sound, where there's a song where there's growling, a
Mhm.
mumble rap song where it's mumbling? There are a lot of songs that I first listened to that people, or Kid Rock, for example, he literally has a song called "Ba with the Ba." Is that English?
Mhm.
But anyway, going back to your point, their whole thing was sowing division. And these are the same people who were upset that Lift Every Voice and Sing is included in the introductory show. They're like, that's division. Why don't we just all have the national anthem? Well, there's a whole story behind the national anthem. I'm not going to get into
Exactly.
that, but they
Exactly.
complained bitterly
Bring it,
about Lift
Felix.
Every
Felix
Voice
preaching.
and Sing. But, fast forward, they want to have a separate, let's be honest, they want to have a whites only halftime show. I'm going to call it what it is. And, it was just that's what they wanted to do. And you talk about division, the hypocrisy it's out in the open because again, like I said, had nothing to do with Americans. You had a white British band. That was not a problem for you. Y'all thought that was they thought that was one of the best halftime shows ever. Bad Bunny, you know what? Again, I'm not a fan of his music, but the performance objectively was good, and there was really nothing to complain about. And for a last part about Kid Rock, look up the lyrics to the song "Cool Daddy Cool" and tell me how Christian that was. Like again, you can't. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't like. There's certain themes in the songs that we listen to, like in rap or metal. But I'm not. The difference is people don't pontificate and pretend that's a Christian thing. They understand it's secular music. You use Chris Rock, and it's not. Let's be honest. They didn't have him because he's Christian. His songs aren't even. He cursed uncensored.
Mhm.
That wasn't a. Again, that wasn't a religious show as they tried to put it. It was a racial thing. And I mean, I don't want to get into the whole history of how they try to relate race to holiness, which even predates America. We can get into medieval history here, but I want to be respectful to your time limit here. So,
Well, Felix,
yeah,
let me
that
just
was the
say,
ultimate showing of hypocrisy by Turning Point.
well, listen, I didn't watch it, but and so I don't know. So viewers out there who actually saw both would have to answer this. But my understanding, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but the only nudity that showed up in both shows was on the Turning Point, and I'm like, how could there be nudity in that one if that was supposed to be? You follow what I'm saying? And I don't know because
Yeah,
I didn't see it. But that's what I heard. That was I heard. I was reading to social media, and one person said the only problem I liked the Turning Point show. The only problem that I had was there was a little bit of nudity in it, and I'm thinking, really? I mean, so it is what it is. Let's move on. Hey, Troy, Hideki Matsuyama had an incident during the Phoenix Open playoff, and on the 18th hole and in regulations. And what I want to get your thoughts on this, being a professional golf trainer and teacher, because right now what's going on in golf is you starting to get a lot of music on the course and stuff like that. And Tom the Bomb loves music. I am very musical, but man, I don't want to hear your music while I'm on the golf course, let alone what happened to Hideki Matsuyama. Troy, can you talk to that?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, past few years, there's been like a merge between the PGA Tour and the Live Golf Tour, and now the Live Golf Tour started to diminish and starting like there's a lot going on. On the Live Golf Tour, they encourage more of like a waste management open atmosphere, right? And for those that don't know, the waste management open is probably the most lively professional golf tournament you can go to. Hole 16, they have a stadium around the par three, in which people get drunk all day and are constantly yelling, screaming, heckling. That's just part of the atmosphere, right?
Mhm.
Now, when a guy has a putt to win a tournament, and you have the audacity to try to throw him off in the midst of him putting, you deserve to be banned for life. If a guy is in a playoff and he's clearly focused in. And it goes come to find out again, like I said, it was a young white kid that did it, right? But to think, okay, you got an Asian guy on tour playing against Chris Gotterup, who was actually one of the teammates of one of my good friends, Adam Gray at Rutgers, right? You got a guy that's really good. Something small like that can definitely be very detrimental in regards to focus.
Mhm.
Golf is one of them games where if you're not 100% locked in, the smallest little difference in what you do can change the outcome of a shot. And, like I said, I understand what the Live Tour is trying to accomplish, through, getting the game more lively. But some people just don't really need to be in that
I know.
scenario if they can't hold their composure and respect one another, knowing that they're going at it playing for millions of dollars.
Yeah, and even on 17, one of the staffers dropped a chair in his backswing. And if you guys remember how Tiger used to swing and stop right before he hit the ball, and Hideki had to do that on the 17th hole.
Now,
And
now, oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead,
I'm so sorry.
go ahead.
No, but one thing I wanted to piggyback. I'm glad that you brought Tiger up. Now, this is where you got to understand, it's levels to this, right? Earl Woods prepared that young man for any possible distraction that he was going to get 10, 15 years down the line from him being a teenager, right? And he would rattle his keys. He would, talk in his backswing. He would yell and start laughing in the midst of him about to putt. And, the training of him being a Green Beret definitely stuck to Tiger's psyche. So, Tiger is one thing. Everybody ain't built like Tiger,
Mhm.
right? And just because you're built for it, just because you can ignore it, doesn't mean that it's good for you to ignore it. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, there's no place for it in golf. Felix, you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's just fan behavior, decorum. I mean, it's one thing to say you paid for a ticket, you could act how you are, but how you want, but there's certain limitations to it. If it becomes a hindrance to the game, and of course in golf, it's all about focus, having quiet, and there's a decorum to it. There's an understand rule of decorum in that space, and he clearly knew what he was doing in breaking that. So I think they should handle him appropriately, probably a lifetime ban, because again, when you impact the results of a hole like that, he knew what he was doing.
Mhm.
So
Yep. Mhm.
that's what I have to say. This isn't just like trash talking a football player or trash talking a hockey player, something that's understood, that's part of it, and you're not a distraction per se and impacting the results of the game. But yeah, this was beyond the pale here.
I just want to close it out by saying, in football, in basketball, and in baseball, the fans, they aren't just they aren't just watching the game, they're part of the game. And we just talked about Seattle's, how the 12th man, the noise that they makes affects the other team. So that's expected and allowed in football. That's expected and allowed in basketball. If you watch the Duke Crazies, how they make the noise and and shake things and wave their hands behind when guys shooting a free throw to try to make a miss. And it even happens in baseball. But that's never been a part of golf. As golf, you're a spectator, but you're not a participator. You don't get to participate at a golf tournament. You don't get to participate at a tennis tournament. You don't get to do things to distract the players. And anyone that plays golf knows that that is unbelievable bad sportsman and bad etiquette. And it absolutely can cause you to miss a shot. So, as far as golf is concerned, the spectators don't get to participate. After a shot, they can clap, get the golf clap, whatever, or yell when it's a great shot, but you don't get to do and say things, during a player's shot, before their shot, to purposely distract them. And that's the main thing. The intention here was to affect Hideki Matsuyama's shot. And he had a 99.3% chance to win. And he hit the ball in the water on 17, and he missed the putt on 18 because of fan interference. And I think the PGA is going to have to do something about that. Hey, gang, that's our show for today. Went a little long, but we had a lot to do. Felix and Troy, you guys were fantastic. Uh, as usual, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Your insight was excellent. I think it was very, very detailed. We purposely wanted to go in detail in this Super Bowl. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Congratulations to Gina as she has a Super Bowl ring. Hey, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube and hit that like bell, please. If you're enjoying the content and you'd like to bless our ministry, you can sow into the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk by cash apping us at $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. Again, that's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Let us know what you think about the poll questions. Should Holy Hall of Fame players be able to vote on Hall of Famers? I think Troy, Felix, and I are all in agreement with Deion Sanders that the Hall of Famers themselves should make the vote. Hey, guys, for a dynamic, in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. Future so bright, you got to wear shades, Felix. Hey, man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we surely thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you. God wants to introduce you to abundance, an abundance of blessings down on you that there won't be room enough to contain it as you live off the overflow and step boldly into the realm of grace. Amen. Hey, remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the third day, not necessarily Thursday. And if you believe that, you will be saved. He'll leave the 99 just to come and help and find you on the third day, not a Thursday. Hey, gang, Tom the Bomb wants to leave you with a thought, okay? Duct tape may patch a lot of things, but 3 nails fix everything. Let's just love one another. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out love. Hate cannot drive out love. Only love can do that. Martin Luther King, right? Okay. Listen, may God bless you guys. Felix, Troy, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next week at the same time on the same bat time on the same bat station, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific. You guys have a good evening. Thanks a lot, Troy. Thanks a lot, Felix. I love you guys.
This is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in. Let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed and I've gone back 7 times. Look again, cause the miracles are mine. Stir the water, I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda. Let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight and soar out of darkness to his revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life. Cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take fruit. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give sight, leading lost souls to his glorious light. I am light.
Daughter of mine, this is your time.